We pray for Ukraine or Urain.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programas offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
ਸਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਨੇਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾਵਾਂ। ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇਖੋ suprememastertv.com/schedule.
I'd like to see governments around the world accepting the idea that all the sentient creatures within their boundaries are citizens of their country and therefore deserve to be protected by the government involved.
Supreme Master Ching Hai, Vegan, gratefully present the Shining World Compassion Award to Dr. Richard Ryder, Vegan, with respect and high salute for your devotion to protecting the rights of our wonderful animal co-citizens. May you be forever blessed and safeguarded in divine love.
Speciesism, Painism and Happiness. Interview with Dr. Richard D. Ryder, Vegan, Part 2 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
In the spirit of compassion, bhakti, devotional practice, encourages a vegetarian diet. As our consciousness expands, it's natural that we become more sensitive to how we honor our relationships with other life-living beings. The Venerable Radhanath Swami, vegetarian.
Justice must not go unnamed or unchallenged. I thank you all for coming today, for not looking away and for caring.
Please listen! Help farmers to transition! Animals want to be free! Just like us!
They may not look exactly like us, but just like each and every one of us, they have the capacity to feel fear, pain, and love, and to suffer, just like we all do.
If you have the pleasure of visiting the tropical coral atolls of Tokelau, the smiling locals would greet you with Ma'aloni, that's hello, in the Tokelauan language. Kind-hearted viewers, I am Atin. The happy people of Tokelau invite you to pray for the whole of humanity to remember their true celestial nature. Welcome to Speciesism, Painism and Happiness. Interview with Dr. Richard D. Ryder, Vegan, Part 2 of 2. British writer, psychologist, and philosopher Dr. Richard D. Ryder is a pioneer of the modern animal people rights movement. In 1970, Dr. Ryder invented the concept of speciesism. Dr. Ryder is the author of several works on animal people rights. He has spent the last 3 decades developing ethical concepts related to the inclusion of animal persons in the moral realm, a radical move that has resulted in international animal people protection laws. In his book, Animal Revolution, Changing Attitudes Towards Speciesism, Dr. Ryder particularly mentions early Catholic saints defending animal people welfare.
When I researched this subject, I was very impressed by how the church in the early days was more concerned about animals than it is today. The saints, for example, the saints who were the models for virtuous behavior that everybody learnt about, the stories of the saints, and nearly always a saint had stories about how they'd been kind to animals. They'd looked after them when they were injured. They'd stopped the hunters from hunting them. They'd given sanctuary to the animals. All the early saints, nearly all the early saints, seemed to have pets and to be very fond of them, and people would remark upon it. It was some of the popular stories that were always told about saints.
Smart kid? Ah, you are surely a vegan.
One of the kind individuals known for his compassion for animal people is Saint Neot, vegetarian, a 9th century monk who rescued stag individuals from hunters. Meanwhile, Saint Godric of Finchel, vegetarian, a medieval hermit who saved bird people from traps, also protected a stag person from hunters and let snake friends warm themselves by his fire. Another account involves Saint Aventine of Troyes, vegetarian, a French hermit. When a deer person who was being chased by hunters rushed into his cave, the hermit shut the door to keep the terrified animal friend safe until the pursuers left. One of the doctors of the church was Saint Jerome, vegetarian. When a lion lad broke into the monastery where Jerome lived, sending his fellow monks running, he saw that the animal person was hurt and treated him by removing a thorn from his paw.
Francis of Assisi was one of the saints who followed the tradition of being very concerned about animals. He was exceptionally concerned about animals, but he was also very concerned about the poor. He was concerned about suffering. I think that was the great thing. He was concerned about pain and suffering, regardless as to who was suffering. I know that at the time I did this research 30 years ago, it was such a joy to discover these stories about saints I'd never heard of, who'd rescued animals from the hunters.
Vegan, awaken our real love inside.
Altruistic viewers, let's take a few moments to contemplate on the divine within. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television.
Peace for Ukraine or you reign.
Welcome back to Speciesism, Painism and Happiness. Interview with Dr. Richard D. Ryder, vegan, part 2 of 2. In 1990, Dr. Ryder coined the term Painism, explaining that all beings who can experience pain have a moral standing and thus deserve rights.
I think that morality should be a concern for others, not actually a concern for ourselves. If you want to understand what we should be doing for ourselves, then you should be a psychologist. But if you want to be a moralist, then you should be concerned about other creatures. And the great difference in the world, I think, in philosophy at least, is becoming the difference between the sentient and the non-sentient, or those that can suffer pain and those that can't suffer pain. That's where the great difference lies, not between human beings and non-human animals, but between the sentient and the non-sentient. That's the great dividing line. And it's possible that some modern robots may begin to become sentient. We don't know how consciousness is formed, so it's difficult to be certain. But it may be that there are other machines, maybe some aliens from outer space may eventually come along and pose this problem for us. If there's evidence that these individuals can actually experience pain, then they should be inside the moral circle.
There are 211 countries and regions which have animal people protection laws. Thailand is one of them.
Thailand, Prevention of Cruelty and Animal Welfare Provision Act. The Prevention of Cruelty and Animal Welfare Provision Act of 2014 makes it a crime to inflict cruelty to domestic and working animal people, punishable by fines and up to 2 years in prison. The law also banned the trade and consumption of dog and cat persons.
Obey the law of your country. No more animal people slaughterhouses. No more hurting. No more murdering them to eat, to lab test, or for any reason at all. Be vegan. Make peace. So be it.
In the book Speciesism, Painism and Happiness, A Morality for the 21st Century, Dr. Ryder talks about how people are thinking more about morality.
We're in a terrible mess at the moment. The world is full of warfare and hatred. But I think people are thinking more about morality, mainly because more and more young people have actually got the time to go to university and think about such issues. That, I suppose, is producing more discussion of morality, and it's not coming in the form of a fully developed religion so much as looking at these slightly different concepts that I've been mentioning, like consciousness and the capacity to experience pain and other forms of suffering. That I think this isn't a matter of basic evolution. It's just that people have got the time to think about it, and they're taking a more directed view about the experience of pain being at the centre of morality. So we're not so much concerned about doing something that might upset God. We're more concerned about doing something that actually causes pain to other individuals, regardless of their sex or race or species. I can remember a time in the 1950s when people didn't really discuss morality. The only people who were supposed to talk about morality were vicars and priests, but they were missing, completely failing to notice the other issues, such as cruelty to animals, which was going on everywhere around them without comment. So I think we're now being much more accurate in spotting the subjects that need to be debated. And actually, these are being debated carefully, rationally, and with the evidence of science behind them.
Dr. Ryder founded Eurogroup for Animals in 1980, bringing together animal people supporters from around Europe to form a lobby in Brussels, Belgium, and Strasbourg, France, for new European legislation that would significantly enhance the protection of animal folk.
Law itself is becoming, I think, more and more of an important subject. As we become more powerful as a species, inventing bombs that can destroy the world and so on, we actually need more and more respect for the law at international level. I mean, I feel that I've always been moving from the moral to the political and from the moral to the legal. And you know, it may be a race against time almost. I mean, I feel that we live in very insecure times, and we really need to rethink our behaviour pretty fundamentally, pretty quickly. I have to admit that I've been a lobbyist myself, but I've been trying to lobby for the animals. There is a growing unanimity around the world, particularly among the younger people, that yes, the animals actually are like us and deserve some proper treatment.
In closing, Dr. Ryder shares his wish for humanity.
Well, I'd like to see governments around the world accepting the idea that all the sentient creatures within their boundaries are citizens of their country and therefore deserve to be protected by the government involved. It's not just citizenship is not just something for the human species, it's something for all the species, for all animals who suffer. There's more and more scientific evidence that many other species are really remarkably intelligent. And more important than intelligence, of course, that they are sensitive to suffering.
Supreme Master Ching Hai, Vegan, gratefully present the Shining World Compassion Award to Dr. Richard Ryder, Vegan, with respect and high salute for your devotion to protecting the rights of our wonderful animal co-citizens. May you be forever blessed and safeguarded in divine love. Supreme Master Ching Hai, Vegan, is deeply grateful to the most merciful beloved God for all the financial help, comfort, and support to the afflicted and needy and or any good cause over the years, as a humble vessel for Here's compassion and love toward Here's precious children.
Bravo, and our heartfelt appreciation, Dr. Richard Ryder, for showing the world that love knows no bounds. We pray that your vision may soon come to fruition so that all beings are treated with kindness and consideration. For more information on Dr. Richard D. Ryder, Vegan, and his publications, please visit 62stockton.com/Richard.
Turn vegan. Go beyond the taste to nobility.
Noble viewers, thank you for your devoted company today. Coming up next is Living for Your Heart, making the connection between lifestyle and longevity, here on Supreme Master Television. May you rejoice in the grace and radiance of the divine always.
Russia, leave Ukraine or Ukraine now. Peace be with you too.
Be vegan, make peace, do good deeds. Heaven, Godspeed.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/UL.